What's going on, guys? I'm going to make another video on MCAT tips. The reason why I want to make another video is because MCAT is such a big exam and there are so many tips. Some are very general and some are very specific, sometimes subject specific. I would much rather make smaller videos and really hit everything that I know that I could think of than just make one long general video. So I've already made a bunch of videos relating to the different subjects on MCAT. This is just some more things that I could think of, which I don't think I have mentioned in the other videos. So I'll say MCAT, you need about 2 to 3 months of prep time. That obviously all depends on your academic background, how long you have been out of school for, just in general your comfort level. I'll say 2 to 3 months for MCAT prep, and that is, I'll say, for maybe 8 to 10 hours a day with maybe a day or two off each week. So it's not anything too strenuous, but at the same time you're working pretty hard most of the days in those 2 to 3 months. If you are really like in a rush, then you might be pulling 14 to 16 hours a day like for a month if you only allocate a month. So I'll say to properly study and have still, a sane life, give about 2 to 3 months for the MCAT, and don't do anything in those 2 to 3 months. Don't do research, don't do other coursework, don't go volunteer in a hospital or something. Just give those 2 to 3 months and just focus on the MCAT. Next, practice. When I say practices, I don't think you should just get pigeonholed into one set of books or one set of test prep company books. I think you should really spread out a little bit and see all kinds of problems, because the MCAT is evolving and it is changing every single exam. So you want to have exposure to as much material and as many questions and as many types of questions as possible so that you're best prepared for the MCAT. Personally, I did all the Kaplan books, the Princeton Review books, and UWorld. And then after that, I did the AAMC. So for Kaplan, I did not read the subject books, but I did do all the practice. So like all the problems, all the exams, and I did the same thing for the Princeton Review, and I did everything in UWorld except the cars section in UWorld. So for Princeton Review, I think the most high yield book is the science workbook. It is a super thick book and it just has a bunch of questions. So I think through that practice, you are really hitting a lot of your content review. So it shouldn't be just content and then practice, but you want it to be intertwined, because that's how you make the most efficient strides in your learning process. So the Princeton Review science work, I think, is super high yield, and you should definitely do it, because that's going to show you really where you have those content gaps. All right. UWorld is similar to Princeton Review, but I think it's a bit better. I think it's more updated, and their explanation, that's where they really make their money. Their explanations are on point. For example, let's say a explanation from AAMC might be, let's say, X. The explanation from Princeton Review or for Kaplan might be 2X or 3X, and for UWorld, the explanation is like 100X. They go super in depth and they talk about a lot of different things, so they not only address just that question that you're looking at the explanation for, but they cover so many other related topics that you really gain a comprehensive understanding of that topic and the related topics. So highly recommend UWorld. Next, people say images are better than words, and I say that a video is better than images. Whenever you're trying to understand a concept or explanation, yes, you should read the explanation and read that related content, but I think you should also watch a video, because video is going to give you more things. It's going to help you retain that knowledge. So you have the audio from the video, you have the visual images, like you see it moving. It's just a more efficient way and a better way to retain that content, that knowledge. So I think you should definitely watch videos. And when you watch videos, if I were you, and what I did was I added all my videos into different playlists. So I had a biology, biochemistry playlist, psychology, sociology playlist, chemistry, physics playlist. I'm talking about on YouTube, right? So on YouTube, you watch the video and then you just click save to playlist, and then just save that video to that playlist, so that later on, if you do forget that content or you just want a refresher, then you could easily go back to that playlist and you could just rewatch that video. Like, you don't have to go back to YouTube search to find that one video that you really like and that's what is stuck in your head. You want to go back to that video. So make playlists and make good use of it. Next, along with the playlist, you also want to have flashcards. So every time you're doing problems from Kaplan, Princeton Review, UWorld, AAMC, whatever, you should be reading the explanation, watching videos, and as you're doing that, make flashcards using Anki, or you could also use Quizlet. I use Anki. So make flashcards about anything and everything. If you have any sort of doubt, even if you think you may not know it, if you have any sort of doubt, just make a flashcard on it. Next, you're going to have a lot of formulas, or you're going to have a bunch of different structures or whatever, things that you have to reference a lot. Have those sheets in front of you as you're doing the problems, and make sure you're using the same sheets, the same formula sheets, or the same notes that you're using to do problems, because you want to have that spatial recognition memory in your head. Come test day, if you cannot pinpoint that one exact formula that you need, you can still kind of deduce it by thinking in your head, okay, I think it was on the top left of page number 2. I remember there was like a structure next to it. You can somewhat tell. Definitely have the formula sheets, the note sheet in front of you as you're doing the problems, and use that same thing. Do not keep adding or changing your formula sheets. Use the same ones for every single day that you're doing practice. To make things a bit more efficient, I know I talked about it a little bit on my other videos. Try to make all your downtime into productive time. So if you have a long commute, in that commute, make sure you're listening to something. So I was listening to all my psychology, sociology videos on my playlist. So it was just a good refresher, and I was making good, efficient use of my driving time. Same thing at the gym. You should not be neglecting the gym when you're studying for the MCAT. I did stop lifting weights, and I was only doing cardio. And the reason why I was doing only cardio was because I was watching videos from my playlist as I was doing cardio. I would highly recommend you go to the gym and do cardio, and when you do it, just have your phone out and just watch videos. So you're making good, efficient use of the time, and at the same time you are getting fitter. You're not just getting fat. Next, and this is, I think, the most important thing that I learned, and I actually learned this from this one doctor. He has a YouTube channel, can't remember his name, but he's a resident anesthesiologist in San Francisco or San Diego, something like that. He talked about you should be intertwining things to retain all the knowledge. What he really means is you shouldn't have just like a content period and then a practice period. That should be somewhat intertwined. Or you shouldn't only move on to practice after you think that you have completely mastered content, because you will never completely master content. You want to have a baseline of content down, that's fine, that is your content period. But once you have the baseline done, once you have the skeleton, then you should fill in the gaps by doing practice problems. And as you're doing practice problems, you're going to intertwine that with explanation. You're going to read the explanations, you're going to watch videos, you're going to make Anki cards, and that is how you really retain it, because you're really working. This is active learning. Initially, yes, do your content little period, have that skeleton down, but don't spend too much time rebuilding that content by rereading everything again. Have that baseline content down, then just start doing problems, because you want to learn the content via problems. Because MCAT has problems. It is not just a content-based exam. They're going to ask you stuff based on problems. So the more practice you have with problems, the better. Don't do problems for an entire day and then look at the answer and the explanation the next day. Do that on the same day. You do a problem, you look at the explanation, learn from it, add on to your playlist, add on to your Anki, and then move on. For full-length practice exam, which is also important, right? On day 1, do the entire full-length exam, and then on day 2 and 3 maybe, review everything. When you're doing the full-length is the only time when you're not looking at the explanation on the same day. Everything else, when you're doing Kaplan, Princeton, UWorld, I think you should definitely do problems, read the explanation, watch videos, add to your Anki card, and intertwine it. That's how you'll really retain it, and it will give you the best chances to not forget it for testing. Next, mnemonics. MCAT has a lot of different topics. So you want to create mnemonics as much as possible. That is going to really save you. I had a lot of mnemonics on my Anki cards, and right now I am going through all my Anki cards to make different videos about all the mnemonics that I used. So I've already published Biochem Part 1 and 2. I am in the works for ChemPhys and PsychSoc. So I'll definitely make videos for those, and so definitely have mnemonics, alright? Next, Reddit. Reddit is the best assistant to MCAT prep you could ever think of. I think Reddit is amazing. Like, if I could donate to Reddit, I would. It's got a lot of resource, a lot of help, a lot of people willing to volunteer their time to help you out. So I thought it's very good, but at the same time, it can be very bad if you start reading about people not passing. It's just going to discourage you. So I think you should use Reddit usefully by searching a problem, especially for all the AMC full lengths. Any question that gave someone a doubt or they got it wrong or whatnot, most likely that question was asked on Reddit and there's an explanation for it in Reddit. Even if you think that you know the explanation, let's say you got the question right, I would still search it in Reddit just to see and just to make sure that your explanation, justification, your thinking is right. Because a lot of the times you could get a question right for the wrong reason. You don't want that to happen for testing. So just see Reddit and see what others are saying about that question, and maybe they have some other different way of thinking about it, and that could be easier maybe. Have an open mind and just search every single question as you're going through your AMC practice exams. Next, I know AMC explanation for the full lengths are not the best, but it is very general. That is one good thing about it. Don't not read it. Make sure you read it and see how they're thinking, because you want to understand how AMC is thinking. So let's say the explanation is not making sense to you, then go on Reddit, learn the material, see what others are saying, watch YouTube videos, read, whatever Kaplan or what have you, understand that question, and then read the AMC explanation and make sure that you are able to understand their explanation at the end of all your investigation and research. But make sure that you understand where they're coming from, because they are the test makers at the end of the day. Next, for the full length, for the AMC practice exams, make sure that you spend a day or two reviewing it. Like, really go in depth, really review the crap out of it. A lot of the times you'll be in one problem and you look up the explanation, and then within the explanation there's something else, some word or some phrase or some concept which you don't know. Then make sure you understand that little thing too. So a lot of the times you are just going down a fucking rabbit hole, and that's okay. That's what you want. Really take your time, allocate a day to 2 days to review each and every full-length exam. Learn everything you can from those exams. Other tips that really worked for me, so I realized that I am the most fresh and the most willing to do things right after I wake up. A lot of people, they like to go work out in the morning, and I used to also do that, and I still prefer doing that. But when I'm doing my MCAT prep, I would rather focus on my MCAT, right? So I realized that when I wake up in the morning, I could just get things done. So the hardest thing for you, do that right after you wake up. So for me, that is cars. I hate doing cars passages. So usually when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I did was knock out like 4 to 6 cars passages. So give that a shot. Just use your fresh mind in the morning to do the hardest thing, because willpower is a muscle and it gets tired as the day goes. Make good use of it in the morning after you wake up. With that being said, I think naps are very effective and it kind of resets your willpower muscle. So let's say you've been studying since 8 a.m. and now it's 3 p.m. and you're just feeling super tired, super sleepy. A lot of people look down on napping. I think that's wrong. I think it's very effective. Just take a nap for about 30 minutes and then wake up and then you feel much better. Drink some coffee. Just knock out the next hardest thing that you have on your agenda. So naps work for me a lot. When I was studying from MCAT, I was taking naps every day after I came back from work because I did have a full-time job. I would just take a nap for like an hour after work, and then I'm like reset. My willpower is back up and running, knock out cars, and then move on with my prep, my studying. Alright, usually the explanations will be in words, right? Yeah, like you should definitely read it, but I don't think you should just read it. Definitely watch videos to complement that. And in my opinion, videos do a much better job of giving you knowledge and you being able to retain the knowledge because of utilizing so many more senses in your body. You got your audio, you got your visual. So yeah, read and watch videos and just add on to your playlist and add on to your Anki cards. Next, do everything multiple times. You got your Anki decks, you got your playlist. Don't just go through your Anki once, because it is so much content. You want to redo all your cards and you want to rewatch all your playlists at least twice. I think I did it 3 times from what I can remember. Because yeah, you will do it and you'll retain it, but over time you will just start forgetting some things, so you have to reset it. So I think the last week before your exam, you should really spend that week just reviewing stuff. And with the reviewing, you're going through all your videos on your playlist and going through all your flashcards just to really hammer down the content. I think content prep is the key. If you over prep in content, I think you could really get by not reading the passages sometimes. So really over prepping your content, that's going to save you a lot of time by not always having to read the passages. And if you really have the time, depending on how much time you have before the exam, you also may want to redo all the UWorld questions and redo all the AMC material. So like all the full lengths and the section banks and the Q banks and all that good stuff. But I think at the minimum, I think you should definitely redo all the Anki flashcards and rewatch all the playlists. And a quick little note about cars. Again, I made so many videos specifically about cars and all the different subjects, but this is one thing that I just forgot to talk about. In between passages, I think you should definitely take a little pause and just reset your mind. So let's say you're reading about Picasso. You don't want to go into the next passage still thinking like about Picasso. Take a little pause for maybe 2 to 5 seconds. Just take a little pause and just reset your mind before you go on to the next passage. Read the next passage like you have never read the previous passage. Just have your complete and utter attention to your next passage. So take that pause. Next, in your cards choices, make sure you cross out the wrong ones. It's going to take you like a second to cross out the wrong answers, and I highly recommend that because that is going to make sure that you don't pick the wrong answer by accident, because a lot of the times the answers are very similar, so you want to definitely cross out the wrong one and not pick it by accident. So do that. Next, this might be just me, but I found out that if I listen to music, the song was playing in my head when I was reading the passages, and that was really hampering my ability to focus and comprehend the passage. So I'll recommend just don't listen to music, especially very upbeat music, because that is going to be playing in your head and you'll be like singing along in your head and you won't be reading the passage, because the internal voice needs to read the passage, not some song they listened to a couple of hours ago. Next, for cars, this is a strategy. It kind of worked for me. So as you're going through the different strategies to see which one's working for you, you should definitely test out many different strategies to see what works for you. So I'll recommend that on the weekdays, when you're doing 3 to 4, maybe 6 passages, try out that said specific strategy that you're trying out for that week. And then on the weekend, do an entire cars passage or the entire cars section for endurance, and to see if that strategy that you use throughout the week is actually working for you for an entire section. Because a lot of the times the strategies that work for individual passages but not for the entire section. When you're doing an entire section as a whole, you also want to maybe employ some other strategies, as in, do you want to work maybe from front and back, and you go from, so let's say passage 1 and then passage 9 and then 2 and then 8. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to just go 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way to 9? Or do you want to do 1, 2, 3 and then 9, 8, 7? Like, you know what I mean? So you want to have the individual passage strategy and also the overall section strategy. So I recommend do the individual strategies on the weekdays, and on the weekends do an entire section to see if your strategy is working. Just some overall general tips and advice. I would recommend you watch some, like, I don't want to say watch, but definitely be okay with watching Grey's Anatomy or House or ER for some motivation. Those shows obviously are not super realistic as to what really happens in the medical world, but we do like watching them, right? You should not be going into medicine because of those shows, but if that motivates you to be in the medical field, use that, leverage that to find the motivation to study, because you will have some really super bad days and some down days, and you just need that motivation to continue studying. So don't be afraid to take a break for 20-30 minutes to watch a show. If not the full show, at least some excerpts of the show to motivate you. Next, social media. Highly recommend that you just deactivate your Facebook, your Instagram, your Snapchat accounts during this period. Social media has its perks, but I think it is super distracting when you are trying to study. Your friends will still be there. Everyone is still going to be there. They'll understand why you're not online. So just turn that stuff off. Next, cell phone. I started doing this because I realized that cell phones in general are very distracting. What I did was I told all my close friends and family members that, hey, I'm studying for my MCAT, so I'm going to have my cell phone turned off the entire day. So if you truly need me, call the house phone. So I had my cell phone turned off the entire day, and I would turn it on literally about 30 minutes before I was about to go to bed, just so that I could see if someone texted me and they needed a response. So do that and you'll see how free you feel, and you will really feel like you're able to concentrate. Yes, it's a bit isolating, but I think that's exactly what you need. You need to make MCAT your world. You do not want any other distractions from the outside world. This is not the time. Next, when you're watching videos, if for whatever reason you pause the video, and let's say you have to go to the bathroom or someone called out your name, you pause the video. Don't resume the video where you left off. Rewind 5 to 10 seconds. Because I realized personally that every time I paused and then I would get back to where I left off, it would take me a good 5 to 10 seconds to realize what is going on. And that period that it took me to realize what's going on, I lost out in that 5 to 10 seconds of content. Because you don't want to waste time by watching a video and not truly understanding what just happened. Next, workout. A lot of people, I know, like during the MCAT prep, they just completely neglect working out. I think it has some very, very positive influences when you are studying. So I think you should definitely work out. The only compromise that I made was I did not lift weights because I wanted to make my workouts efficient. So I just did cardio on the treadmill, the Stairmaster, the bike, and I just watched videos. So whatever 30 minutes to an hour that I was in the gym, I was watching videos and I was still like refreshing my knowledge and my content. Next, see people. It sounds funny, but we are humans and we are social animals. and we're not designed to just be in a little cave for hours, days, weeks on end and just not see anyone. Still like see people like every now and then. Don't like go off to a party for a complete night or something like that. But I would definitely like go out for dinners for like an hour or like hour and a half. Like go see your friend, go see like whoever is near you. Like see people. That's gonna make you feel good. That's gonna still keep you social. That's gonna make sure that you're still having a sane and balanced life as you're studying. Studying sucks for MCAT. It's a lot of work. It's very stressful. And I think seeing people definitely helps to lessen that and makes your studying even more efficient. And do activities, right? So if you allocate enough time for the MCAT, you shouldn't have to be miserable, right? So if you allocate 2 to 3 months, you should be studying 8 to 10 hours a day. You still have a lot of time left in the day to keep your time still somewhat fun. So if you like to run, play tennis, watch whatever, a movie or a show, do that. Like try to keep your days somewhat exciting and fun if you can. Because at the end of the day, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So you want to be able to endure this entire period. So do what makes you happy, but just be mindful that you're also studying, so don't go overboard with it. This is specific to me. This really worked for me. I like to watch funny things when I was taking like tiny breaks during my study days. So I would watch these little minute to 2 minute Big Bang Theory videos throughout the day just to kind of like refresh my memory. So let's say I just studied for like 2 hours and I'm going to the bathroom, right? So as I'm going to the bathroom, I'll just watch a little minute to 2 minute clip of Big Bang Theory like on my YouTube app. That really worked for me. It's just something with comedy. It just does something to your brain chemistry. It helped me. See if it'll help you out too. In conclusion, all in all, in essence, do it right the first time. If you have any doubts that, oh man, like I don't think I'm ready for this exam, don't take it, because it's better to not take it and just move it a little bit and then take it in a month or two than take it and you do bad on it and then you have to redo it. You do not want that. So I would highly recommend you do it right the first time and just be over with it. Allocate enough time, really go all out, go balls to the wall, like go ape shit and just do well. Study hard, brute study, and just go hard as hell so that you have no regrets. You can confidently say, yes, I tried my best. I studied my hardest. And then just give your best on the test day. Doing well on the MCAT carries a lot of weight because this will make your whole medical life much easier. Because with a good MCAT score, you'll go to a good school. From a good school, you'll have good connections. You'll have good matches to residencies. And then with good residency match, you'll have good residency training. And then from there, you'll have a good attending physician life. So it comes down to this one exam. All right, so really give it your best, try your hardest, and you know yourself, if you're not ready, don't take it. But with that being said, you'll never feel ready. But you will know when you're about to burn out, and you will know if you really tried your best or not. You'll never feel 100% ready, but if you truly feel that you're 98% ready, take the exam, and you'll do just fine. That's all the advice I have for you. More videos to come. Like, share, and subscribe.